Okay, so not Ghost of Tsushima, oh my god. AC Shadows dropped. I forgot when. Maybe the 20th, I believe. But I've been hearing a lot of great stuff about it, and it really confuses me because the game is ass. I don't really care what anyone says. I think it's shit. And I think the only thing that AC Shadows has going for it is that it has a nice environment. It's not the shittiest environment. And the soundtrack isn't bad. But come on now. Let's be honest. Ubisoft, we need to talk. Assassin's Creed Shadows was kind of supposed to be that feudal Japan experience that fans have been looking for. And instead, it feels just like a copy-paste, bloated, microtransaction-infested Ubisoft game with brain-dead AI, a forced battle pass, boring cutscenes, and uninspired gameplay. And before you come at me with, oh, people are just comparing it to Ghost of Tsushima because they're both in Japan. Cut the lights, cut the cameras. No. Ubisoft literally admitted that they were inspired by Ghost of Tsushima. But there's a difference between inspiration and then just blatantly copying and not adding anything of your own, really. So I'm going to be breaking down why AC Shadows is mid at best, how Ubisoft once again ruined a game with their garbage open world formula, and why, if you actually want a good feudal Japan game, you should just play like Ghost of Tsushima or Sekiro. Let's get into it. First things first, people keep saying, again, stop comparing this to Ghost of Tsushima. It's a different time period. That argument is pretty fucking garbage. Ubisoft themselves admitted that Ghost of Tsushima was inspired by AC Shadows. The lead producer, Carl, straight up said they wanted to replicate the success of Ghost of Tsushima by making their game feel more authentic. So stop with all that. So no, people aren't just pulling this comparison out of nowhere. Ubisoft was clearly looking at GOT's success and thinking, we want that. And let me be fucking real. The combat, the presentation, and even some of the UI elements, they all scream Ghost of Tsushima, just worse. If anything, this is Ubisoft trying to cash in on Ghost of Tsushima's success. And before you try and say, oh, the combat's so good, let me show you guys this shit. So this is Ghost of Tsushima's combat. Let's just take a look at this real quick. Okay?
Hey.
Look at this combat in Ghost of Tsushima. Especially like the blood splatter, the slow motions, just the slicing of the katanas. It's so much better, so much cooler. I think this is great. Look at this. This is, I think, beautiful combat. The one-on-one combat and stuff, where you're actually in the open world fighting people. All those blood splatters, the AI is actually blocking things, reacting for the most part, especially when it's a difficult game. Not hard, but you know, it does have a little bit of some challenging elements to it that makes it really fun. And again, the AI is actually responsive. Look at that assassination. And this is the, like, duels. The one-on-one duels in the boss fights. Look at that. Reactive AI. It's actually fun. I literally watched Moist Critical one shot a fucking boss. He threw one item on the boss, instantly died. There is absolutely no way to be bad at a Ubisoft game. I don't care what anyone says. But look at this. And now let's kind of look at not Ghost of Tsushima, but AC Shadows. And you tell me which one you think is better. And if you say AC Shadows, you are not watching the same video we're watching, clearly. You're looking at something entirely different. Just look at this. And even look at the little dodging UI. when it has that little red mark, it's almost exactly the same thing that Ghost of Tsushima has. And just look at those kills. It just feels clunky. Like Ubisoft fans love to like hype up that the AI is good in Shadows, saying stuff like it's so much better. You have to be strategic. Enemies track your footprints. Bitch, whether you're in highest difficulty or lowest, it doesn't matter. The AI is brain dead. Even on the expert difficulty, all you're gonna get is enemies with more health. Like, I'm playing on expert difficulty, and guess what? The only difference is that enemies have more health. It doesn't make them smarter, it just makes them more spongy. And don't even try and tell me that it is more strategic when I can literally stand up in front of an enemy, crouch again, and suddenly they forget I exist. No fucking stealth. I don't know what anyone is talking about. Meanwhile, in Ghost of Tsushima, the enemies react to you intelligently. They call out reinforcements, coordinate their attacks, and force you to adapt. AC Shadows, it's Ubisoft's usual janky AI pretending to be next gen. I don't care what anyone says. Again, look at this shit. And look at that blood splatter. It's ass to me. Look at the AI just fucking standing there and taking it. This is shitty AI. I don't care what anyone fucking says. But that's that with that. And if you go to any like little comparison video, you will see just how much better Ghost of Tsushima is. Before I get into clicking on this video and showing you guys what I'm talking about, I would like to talk about the Battle Pass situation, because Ubisoft fanboys keep saying it's not really a Battle Pass, you don't have to engage with it. It's called shadow projects, that's what they call it. And I would like to say that's a lie, by the way, that you don't have to engage with this little Battle Pass they have, because let's be real, it has tiers of rewards, locked cosmetics, and if you want the best armor and high tier items, you have to use the shadow projects, which is just a bona fide battle pass. No matter how you try and cut it, that's exactly what it is. Tell me why I have to grind a battle pass in a single player game. This isn't Fortnite. This isn't a live service game. Ubisoft is just conditioning people to accept microtransactions in a single player experience. And if you actually think this isn't a problem, I don't know what to tell you, because microtransactions do not belong in a single player offline based game. And don't even get me started on those cutscenes. I hope you like sitting through hours of cutscenes, because AC Shadows has some of the worst freaking pacing in the entire series. You'll get maybe 3 to 5 minutes of gameplay, on a good day 10 minutes, then boom, long ass dialogue scenes that really don't feel interesting at all, and they're just so boring. The voice acting is ass. Literal ass. Like, I don't know if you guys have seen it, but check this out. Like, tell me what the fuck this is.
Resentment can grow quietly without much warning after a storm. Mushrooms can too. Shiitake?
Mushrooms. The smell of dirt, grass, and rain.
Resentment can grow quietly.
Like, this voice acting is freaking bad.
Resentment can grow quietly without much warning after a storm. Mushrooms can too. Shiitake?
Mushrooms. The smell of dirt, grass, and rain.
Resentment can grow quietly.
There's no way you can call this good. This is unacceptable. Compare that to Ghost of Tsushima, where every story moment flows naturally and doesn't kill the pacing every 5 seconds, and that voice acting. I felt connected to the story. I was interested in the characters. I could care less about any of the fucking characters in this game. Okay, and then I already kind of touched on the combat, but let me say that people say combat comes down to preference, but let's be real. Ghost of Tsushima actually rewards skillful play with precise parrying, dynamic duels, and brutal finishers. Sekiro has actual difficulty and depth, forcing you to master parries and enemy patterns. AC Shadows, it's just flashy animations with the same Ubisoft button mashing gameplay. Like I said, it's impossible for you to fucking lose in a Ubisoft game. And sure, you get more weapon variety in AC Shadows, but the core combat still feels shallow. Most of the weapons play almost the same, and there's no real depth to enemy encounters. Like, let me show you Sekiro. This is just a 30-second clip. That's all you really fucking need to see the combat in Sekiro. Look at that. The enemy barely gives you a chance. You actually have to parry. You have to dodge. AC Shadows is as simple as it gets. Seriously. And I would also like to say, despite the fact that Assassin's Creed Shadows does have a nicer environment and is more of an upgrade than that of Ghost of Tsushima when it comes to the graphics, in some instances, there are moments where there is a lack of attention to detail. Whether small, can add to a game and is just kind of one of those, oh, you kind of appreciate it moments. Let me show you what I mean, because it may be simple, but it matters. And most gamers will say that attention to detail is nice. Like in Ghost of Tsushima, you will see that when it's snowing, he breathes cold air, as you can see, but that same detail is lacking. And honestly, I think the character model in Ghost of Tsushima looks a lot better than that of Assassin's Creed Shadows. And then when you go to the, what is it? When you're looking at the running mechanics in the game, when you're sprinting, you actually get tired in Ghost of Tsushima. He actually slows down, breathes heavily, and that's just a small, nice detail. You can see he's struggling. You can hear him breathing. But that is not the same in Assassin's Creed Shadows, where she does not get tired at all. There's no heavy breathing, no nothing. It's all just the same. Just heavy breathing, but you won't hear her getting exhausted, like, at all. She doesn't slow down, nothing.
No! I wish to show you something.
And then remember when I said that AC Shadows is a copy of Ghost of Tsushima? Well, I still wholeheartedly believe that, because when I show you the stealth gameplay, you are literally going to see exactly what I mean. It is a direct, almost ripoff of Ghost of Tsushima, in my humble opinion, but that's neither here nor there. No, quick little assassination from the back. It doesn't look exactly the same. She does it a little differently, but that stealth mechanic is still very similar. Just look at the takedown in AC Shadows. It's so bad. And they have this exact same mechanic in AC Shadows where you can kill through the door. And even that rope mechanic is the same. And people literally can't sit there and tell me that that is not almost like a copy. And even listen to the sound when he throws a distraction. This is where you can't tell me it's not a copy. The little ringing sound, you hear that, okay? Now listen to AC Shadows.
Something's going on.
It's so bad to me. I don't care what anyone says. So, moving on, because I've been talking a lot about the combat, the rip-offs, whatever. Let's kind of talk about open world checklists in Ubisoft's games. So, if you've played any recent Ubisoft game, you already know what AC Shadows feels like. Big map filled with repetitive icons, copy-paste side quests that feel like chores, same old Ubisoft progression system. Very boring. The quests, the challenges, the little fetch quests, all very boring. Meanwhile, Ghost of Tsushima, every side quest adds to the world and story. It doesn't feel like busy work or something to just fill the game's time. It feels meaningful. I think Ubisoft just refuses to evolve their formula, and that's why their games are getting stale. And they probably know that. So, what's my final verdict? Assassin's Creed Shadows is not the feudal Japan experience people have been waiting for. It's just another Ubisoft open world game with a slightly fresh coat of paint. Meanwhile, Ghost of Tsushima and Sekiro actually respect the setting, gameplay, and player experience. If you want a real Japan setting based game, I recommend Sekiro and Ghost of Tsushima. If you just want a bloated microtransaction filled Ubisoft game with dumb AI and unnecessary battle pass, then sure, go ahead, play AC Shadows. But please don't act like this is some revolutionary game. It's not. Ubisoft dropped the ball again. And it is just an L. It's an L. Double L. Shitty game. Solid 2 out of 10 just because of the environment and the soundtrack. I don't care what anyone says.